slate. Yeah. Devin Owens with the left hand. Shout out D Money from the West, man. E Mac on the true boy. Yes, white Jesus, stay blessed, man. It's about time, ain't it, Johnny? But I can't name like everybody. Shout out Big Germ, Katrina Allen, Val Jenkins, Wysocki, Seppa Payu, Matt Dollar, Sarah Holcomb. I say, boy, stop me. Jessica Weiss, that girl is a beast. They crushing it like Double G. Yeah, yeah.
All right, what's going on, everybody? We're at the 2020 Frostbite Open. This is Will Schusterick commentating with Idris Garcia. We are doing some quarantine commentating today, bringing you round 2, part 1.
Exciting stuff going on. We got Mr. Will Schusterick himself out in front at 10 down. But it's a tight battle there at the top. You're only up by 1. Heading into hole 1, 288-foot par 3, 2.79 average. This one is slightly uphill, accessible both backhand turnover and sidearm. What are you throwing here?
As you can see, temperatures changed just a little bit. Took the beanie off, took the hoodie off. I am going forehand D1 with a little early release right there. Not too much wind really on this second round. If anything, it kind of comes into play in a good way, maybe, if that means anything. Mark, this was my first time playing with Mark. He's from the Atlanta, Georgia area, I think kind of West Atlanta. He has an ultimate background. I think Martin Young actually told me they named the MVP trophy after Mark. Yeah. A little tidbit there as we watch Josh rip a really nice forehand. We're going to see Josh throw some insane overhands and forehands throughout this round. He has a crazy tomahawk.
Yeah, I think I've played with Josh before, and he is known for those overhand shots. Definitely knows how to control them well. Almost skipped one in forehand this time, though.
Yeah, he can really. I think he was a semi-pro baseball player. I could have that stat wrong, but from what I remember, that was correct.
And Chris going a little bit deep there, avoids the grabby bush, so he should have a line to look at it. You're just pitching up there, taking the par.
Yeah, you'll find, if you guys didn't watch round 1, this course does have a lot of par 3s. There are a handful of par 4s. They're not long par 4s. Just a couple of them. They are a lot of the holes in the 288 to 300 foot range. And you'll see a lot of players, if they don't have inside 30 to 40 feet, you kind of have a look like what Mark's having right there. It's a little difficult. The difficult putts, sometimes difficult up and downs, but you're going to see a lot of pars and birdie putts coming in, kind of like Chris is looking to save his par right here.
He chooses to go to a knee here. Just a little bit left side. I think that's the toughest part about going to a knee, is maintaining the same power that you would get by being able to use your legs.
Yeah, that's a good comebacker right there by Mark. Mark's got a very smooth throw, smooth putt. This course plays well for his game. And Stu didn't really even have a good look on his birdie attempt. Luckily, he got through the pine tree right there. Got up and down from par.
Yeah, and Crystal will take the bogey there. Josh was parked for the birdie. He will take a stroke on the card, moves within 2 of the lead as we head into hole number 2. Over water pretty much the whole way. Are you just throwing straight at this one?
Yeah, first round we had a really, I would say, raging right to left wind. Round 2, it was very calm, so I switched up a little bit. You're going to see these players not play as, I guess, aggressive would be the phrase that I would like to use. And Josh, having so much power on his overhand, decides to go on a knee to limit himself on a 249-foot shot. And about plops it in the basket.
Incredible. Great shot there from Josh.
And I'm going with a 300 soft PA4 here. Just trying to keep it on that straight line.
Another really nice shot that will also be parked. We got Mark. I would guess going putter as well.
Yeah, and that's a good, good inclination on the types of shots that we're going to see Mark throw right there. He's just got super straight, really nice form. Same thing with Stewart Garner here. He's, I would say, maybe the closest to local. I think he's from the Tuscaloosa area.
And definitely a difference when the wind is down. I mean, everyone really close to this one. No one bringing that water into play. Chris going sidearm on that one.
Yeah, in first round, a lot of people went forehand just to kind of combat the wind and just kind of play for something overstable, spike it right by the basket. But this round, you can see that the trees aren't moving. People aren't taking as much time on their putts.
Yeah, everyone well within the circle on this one. So
yeah, this is a gotta get. Gotta birdie this hole, especially if it's calm.
And everybody avoided giving themselves the death putt right back at the water as well. So
Chris just tapping in that birdie.
we're going to see an early star frame here on hole number 2.
As we're headed into one of the longer holes out here, 687-foot par 4, hole number 3. That walking path on the left-hand side is out of bounds. There is a Mando on one of those skinny trees on the right-hand side, so you do have to get up the fairway and stay a little bit to the left. You can't just bomb it dead straight. The walking path behind the basket is out of bounds. We're going to watch Josh smash a forehand. By forehand, I mean overhand. That's what I meant to say. Not used to somebody smashing an overhand this far.
Yeah, that is center cut right in the fairway. Will probably give himself a look at another overhand throw just to sit right by the bucket. You're going backhand smash here, a little bit higher than last round, and getting a really nice flight out of it.
So to put it in perspective, there's Josh's disc overhand. I don't think that Andy from So Blue could really catch on to his overhand once it goes into the sky, and he got it landed, which is great, but you cannot watch that thing fly fast enough. His overhand went at least 450 feet.
Shot, Mark.
Ridiculous. Mark keeping it center cut.
Yeah, it's good positioning right there by Mark. This is one of those holes, being 687 feet. It's not a long shot. You really just need to get in a position. And that's not too bad right there for Stu. Kind of want to set yourself up to throw another hyzer to the basket, which is around another kind of big tree. It lines it up really well just to throw something really big right to left.
Yeah, Chris just coming up a little bit short there. But he will be first up, and he chooses to go over the OB, clips a branch, and did not look like it got a favorable kick.
Yeah, he ended up not crossing in bounds, so he is going to play from where we just saw his disc go out of bounds over that walking path. And just like we were talking about Stu earlier, he does have a position lined up to go around that tree, and he's going to be looking at a birdie shot.
Yeah, nice little hyzer there. Mark's going to have the same look, a little bit more to the right, to an easier route around the tree, and plays it right into that ground. It looks like that grass is thickening up a little bit, so not a whole lot of skips there around the green, but they'll have a nice little look at birdie.
Yeah, and here's Chris from his drop, looking to go around that tree. Takes a skip, and that does end up... There was a question whether that was safe or out of bounds. That is out of bounds.
And Josh proving me wrong. He goes sidearm on the second shot and ends up a little bit short. He'll have a long look there from probably circle 2.
Yeah, I'm going with a 400 A3 right here. Just trying to pitch it out there to the left. A3 is definitely one of my favorite approach discs. It's always nice to have tap in 3 on a par 4.
Nice little reaction there off the ground. Puts you right under the basket. Stu from distance drains it. What a putt.
One of the best things about not having a great memory is you forget what happened during the round. So I get surprised when people are making putts. I'm like, yeah, nice putt, Stu.
Really great putt there from Stu. We'll see what Josh has after the sidearm landed just a little bit short. Oh, looks like he drew some metal there. Just couldn't quite will it in the bucket. That's a tough hole. That's a tough hole for Chris, going OB twice.
Yeah, just leaving it a little short. You can kind of see the flag in the background, that American flag waving left to right. Kind of give you an idea of the breeze that's going on out there. It's not major, but it is affecting shots just a little bit.
Good work there from Mark. He'll take a birdie, just like you. Josh will clean up the par.
And tough hole for Chris right there, taking the double out of bounds. There are a lot of holes left as we're playing 22 holes.
And big thanks to Auburn Opelika Tourism. They were the presenting sponsor for the Frostbite Open and are also the main sponsor of the coverage. So huge thanks to Auburn Opelika Tourism. They've got 2 new disc golf courses that are approved and in the works, so that sounds awesome. Also was hosting a huge pickleball tournament at this time. Headed into hole number 4. How does this one play?
We are looking at 680-foot par 4, averaging just a little bit over par. You're going to see the basket kind of on that ledge right there. A lot of players go for straight down the middle. It plays a little bit downhill. The pond right there is blind to the basket. It does take a fairly long shot to get there. I would say it's in the back of players' minds as they're teeing off right here. You do want to end up, for me, I want to end up kind of on that right-hand side so you have a better look at the basket. Other people, they try to go down the middle, maybe even slightly left to approach the basket on an uphill second shot. But down the middle, landing dead straight, 340 feet or so should be the way to go.
And Chris pushing onto that left side.
That was Mark
looks
right
like
there.
Looks like Mark did find the road. Yes, it spun out.
Yes, and that is out of bounds. And then there's also the group of trees before the basket, which is out of bounds as well. Stu showing us how it's done. That is perfect positioning right there. Gives you a shot around those out of bounds trees like we were just talking about. Kind of lines it up perfect for that right hand backhand hyzer.
Josh going back to the overhand, definitely a controllable shot if you know how to do it well.
It just gets to the point so fast. So much, I mean, it's hard to comprehend because you can't really get a follow on it from the camera because it just gets lost in the sky. As Chris shows us, the perfect drive for you to have right there is even laid up on top of the hill. I'm going
long hyzer on the second shot there.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a risky shot. I went with a D1, which is seems like a lot of disc, especially for a second shot on a 680-foot hole. I needed to go really wide, and luckily got around those groups of trees. You can kind of see the line around them right now. As I think Stu ended up throwing that a little bit too low, a little higher. He would have had that fade. Probably would have given him a better chance. And Mark kind of showing what I was talking about, to have that uphill second shot. He's going to have, he's on the edge right there. He will have a look. It's kind of a death putt, but he'll have a look to say par.
This time Josh does go overhand, and will have a birdie look. Didn't come up short this time.
Standstill, overhand.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend because it just gets there so fast. It's kind of unbelievable.
Chris with the hyzer, really good shot. Doesn't roll down the hill, so he'll have a little bit of an uphill look there for his birdie after the unfortunate last hole. Stu decides just to lay up.
It's probably a safe play as we're watching Mark right there. He has a little bit of a look, but he's just tossing it up there. As we kind of saw the hill come into play a little bit onto Chris's shot. It did end up checking up, though.
Long uphill look there. Just sails a little bit over the basket.
Chris on the board. That's always a nice comeback right there from having a difficult hole 3, birdie hole 4. 2 semi-difficult holes coming back to back. It's a good pickup.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened right there with he might have had a grip problem because you could see it come out of his hand and wobble a good amount. Same thing with that one, kind of coming back to back.
Yeah, sometimes you're still trying to dial in that release point on the putts early in the round. Hopefully we'll see Josh drain some as we keep on moving.
Yeah, and Chris picking up the only birdie. It's a good comeback after having difficult hole 3 as we are headed into hole number 5. 275 feet, kind of in that same distance range as we were talking about on hole 1. Par 3, and if you see it averages slightly over par. There really is one way to get to this basket, and outside of that, you're going to be looking at par or worse. It's difficult tee shot to get perfectly down that tunnel. The basket kind of lies on the right-hand side of the tunnel, so you're looking at slightly understable mid-range, maybe even an understable putter on an hyzer. And that tree that Chris just kind of kissed off of right there is, I would say it's been nailed a couple dozen times this tournament. You see a lot of people go with the slide hyzer and any type of early release, and it is catching that tree.
Absolutely. That tree looks like it is right in the line of where you want to throw. You're actually almost going deep and catch a tree there.
Yeah, on holes like this, especially having a tunnel shot, 280 feet, I feel a little bit more comfortable going more full power than trying to just hit the gap. I feel like if I can throw it a little bit harder, I can hit the line. It probably is going to go too long or have too much power on it, but on these types of shots, all about just hitting the first gap. It's not a bad pick right there. For Mark, I think anything to the right-hand side and it becomes difficult.
Josh goes with the sidearm, takes the trees on the left out of play, but finds himself out to the right.
Yeah, this is a good look to show you. If you get kicked on this hole, anything to the right-hand side, you just don't have a route to the basket. It becomes very difficult, so you start to look up. Once you start to look up in comparison to the fairway, you know that you're in a difficult position.
Mark making really nice use of the ground play on these little pine needles. Stu going with the jump putt approach there.
Yeah, it's not a bad play just to go for the jump putt, slide it on the dirt just up to the pole. This is one of those holes, if you try to run it, try to make the shot, you tend to go past it and kind of have an awkward straddle and hyzer comebacker for par. Nice putt
Really
right
nice
there.
putt there. There you go. Last man standing on the birdie looks. Makes good on it.
Yeah, it's always nice to pick up a birdie on one of these holes where there's only one route to get to the basket. There's a lot of holes out here in that 280-foot range. It's just all about giving yourself a look and converting from 20 to 28 feet or so. As we're headed into hole number 6. One of the shorter holes, definitely a must-get if you're going to have one of those hot rounds. Average is just below par, 2.7. You're going to see players typically throw backhand putter only being 230 feet. You want to keep it fairly low. I do see people who throw a little bit too high. It'll have too much glide, and it can easily go over that hill and make a difficult death putt coming back to the basket. And I'll show you how to do that right now. Just a little too high right there, and you do just want to. If you don't dig it into the hill, it does glide out just a tiny bit.
I can see why it's easy to throw high. You're trying to get over those pine trees over there to the right side. Chris dials in that height perfectly, and we'll be sitting right next to the basket.
And Stu
Interesting there.
Forehand. Yeah, I was a little surprised with the forehand shot there. I know Stu's got a pretty good backhand. But that tree right off the tee pad on the left-hand side is kind of in the back of your head. I don't see many players hit it off the tee, but it's kind of in the back of your head because you are looking to throw slide hyzer, and that kind of, back of your head, don't hit first available. So forehand kind of takes it out of play. I guess overhand, you don't really have to think about anything. You just flop it right.
Yeah, as long as there's nothing above you.
If you are outside and you have no ceiling over your head, you can throw an overhand.
Throwing over. Stu's got himself a long uphill look.
Another difficult
And this
thing.
is a scary putt.
Nice putt right there.
Beautiful.
Another thing about this hole is there is a decent slope on the green. Yeah, I see even people who miss putts. I'm just tossing it up there.
No rollaways for you today.
Yeah, I'm not looking to get any rollaways. I'd rather just toss it by the pole and take my medicine and head on out. Putt right there by Josh.
Yeah, good conversion after going over the top on the last downhill putt. This time he makes the correction, drops it right in the basket. He'll take his birdie and move on. Mark trying to find his footing here. Sometimes that's another tough part about putting on a slope.
Had a nice putt. Good speed on that. Would have landed in the basket without any chains.
Chris was parked. He will take his birdie as well. And look, what are you doing, man?
Look, guys,
you ruined the
I'll
star
be the
frame.
guy who takes the par and lays out.
What have you done?
I don't even know what I was thinking. Hole 7, 285 feet. It's in that below 300-foot wheelhouse. Players are going to be looking at throwing a flex forehand, potentially a backhand hyzer flip shot. Kind of is a little bit of a plinko. You do want to kind of penetrate the woods by about 15, 20 feet. If you see the gap that is dead straight off the tee, you want to land right there. There is a little bit of a downhill whenever you get up towards the basket. As Chris's disc actually had a nice late flip on it that's going to give him a longer look for birdie, but got over that hill.
Yeah, definitely looked a little bit low out of his hand, but made it over the crest of the hill. Stewart going with that flex forehand, which plays with that slope nicely.
Yeah, and that's a common play, is a little bit either of an early release or not enough turn, as Mark is kind of following his line as well, almost landing on top of each other right there. Josh going with that forehand we watched him throw for hole 1. Just trying to get it over a little bit more. And he made a good correction. Got a nice little kick towards the basket. As I said, a plinko on this hole, you do want to have a nice kick.
Four out of the 5 of you taking that sidearm route. Looks like you'll be over there with Stewart and Mark.
This is a good look from Chris right here. You can see he's got a little bit of a gap. He's not straddling out, just cans it.
Woo!
Nice 50-footer right there from Chris.
Through the trees. Sometimes when you've got a gap, it just lines your putt up perfectly, and you just gotta hit it.
Yeah, he rocket fired that one in there. Hopefully that gets him going.
Mark from downtown.
That's another good putt. I was watching. I do remember that putt. I was watching behind him. He had a good look at the basket, just a nice straddle out. Hyzered around that last tree perfectly. Cashes in the birdie. I have almost the same look as Mark, and I can't convert right there. Had a decent look, though, as Stu was only like 2 feet to the left of me, and the putt that he had was completely different, even though he was only 2 feet away.
Cleaning up your par. Stewart will be able to clean his up as well. And Josh is just laying under it.
Yeah, great drive right there by Josh, getting him on track. This whole course is just really finding your groove. Look, cameo walking across the camera right there.
And Mark pulls himself back within 1. He was down by 3 just a couple of holes ago.
All right, we're headed into hole number 8. Fairly long par 3, 410 feet, looking at slightly uphill with a right to left slope of the green. You're going to see a lot of players go with a forehand layup right here to where they can just pitch up for their par, or they go with a turnover driver. A little bit too much turnover though, and they're going to be playing with that right to left slope and getting a roll into the road, which is out of bounds.
Really, really tough look here.
And Chris was going aggressive right there. It looked like he went with something even a little overstable, which is kind of crazy to say with the out of bounds on the left. But he had it through that gap and just caught the last tree before the basket. And there's that layup shot that I was just talking about.
Yeah, Josh kept it tight and didn't really swing it out wide like I would expect the sidearm to be, but Marco's turnover rolls a little bit, but doesn't get the cut roll towards the road, doesn't bring it into play.
And Stu as well looks to play fairly aggressive, going with maybe a little bit more overstable.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. I jinxed him again.
Wow.
It's always the
That was crazy.
post-commentary. Post-commentary jinxing is the worst. I'm actually going with the D Model S on this shot. The new Ace driver.
Oh, nice kick there.
Yeah, I thought I had the line perfect and hits the first available tree in that gap, and I was fortunate enough it didn't go out of bounds. Nice smooth up shot by Mark right there. Stu playing from his OB drop. Pitching it up the hill.
Yeah, and the look from the bottom of the hill is not too bad. Obviously, going OB is not ideal, but from where you are, inbounds, because you have that big gap through the trees there that you can access the basket pretty easily. So it's not a bad lie.
Yeah, it's not bad on this hole just to get pin high with the basket. You can easily get up there and have a par at least, as we're watching Chris line this one up. About the same distance as the last hole.
Yeah, Downey.
Maybe that's farther.
Oh. And he's just
Somebody lit the fire. Who lit the fire?
My goodness.
Chris is ready. It's like, let's start this round again. I am ready. Drano.
A great putt. And, I mean, outside of hole number 2, I mean, he's ready to go.
So I'm talking about, you don't see many birdies on this hole. Chris might have had the only one in the tournament. I bet there was less than a handful. Even though it is a par 3, 410 feet, it's just tough to access this basket. You don't really need to access the basket if you can make a 60-footer.
Right.
We're headed into a very difficult hole 9. 368 feet, par 3, but averaging a 4. I would say this is as close to a par 4 as you're going to get. You're going to see a lot of players either go with a flex forehand. They're going to land by that white PVC pipe in the ground, which is another pin position. But the basket is a downhill slope. Very difficult upshot to just land by the basket. There is difficulty on the right and left side of the fairway. I would say and describe it as jail. So you're going to want to make sure that you get to the left as Chris hits that fairway very well. He's going to still have a decent look from where he just landed.
He went aggressive off the tee. Mark looks like he's probably just going to lay up to that corner.
Yeah, and that's not a bad position right there. Mark with a nice, just smooth hyzer, trying to get to that PVC pipe.
Josh puts the sidearm high. Not a bad play, just to give it time to flex it back out, but looks like it was a little bit wide to the right.
Yeah, I think he missed the Anheuser release on that. Looked like it came out maybe a little early, too much hyzer on his shot. I went with that A3 once again. Probably my most thrown disc. Stu as well, just looking to go backhand and skip. And he just catches the only tree you got to miss.
Now Mark looking to go down the hill. Does it beautifully.
Would you call that an outside-in forehand? Is that the ultimate? Inside out?
Inside out?
Is that even a thing?
No. I don't know. I can't do it.
It was a great approach.
It was beautiful.
As we're watching Chris, definitely had a good look, or a tough look, not a good look, very tough look. Stu is missing the gap a little bit, but he's going to have a putt for par.
Oh, and Josh trying to pitch it through jail. Looks like he got caught up there on the edge.
Yeah, and I'm roughly 90 feet from the basket, but it's so far downhill, I feel like it just is not enough to merit a full throw, so I just went with that classic, the old jump layup shot.
Yeah, and I mean, that's ideal. You and Chris just looking straight down at that gap.
Almost
not really having to work the disc much.
Yeah, Josh trying to make a run at it. Stu for par. Come on.
Oh!
Come on, basket. That was kind of a weird angle coming in, looking downhill into the cage.
Ooh.
This Mark needed just an inch lower and he would have had that.
Yeah, that was a good angle to look at that little lofty putt. It just stayed up a little bit too long, and I'm sure he'd like to have that one back.
Chris again. That is not a gimme putt right there.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
He's heating up. Josh, nice comebacker right there. Difficult hole for to get off the fairway.
Yep, doesn't take too much damage. We'll stay with the 4, which obviously is not losing too many strokes to people. As That's what the whole average is, so.
And these guys just tapping in. Tapping in. As we're headed into hole 10, 232 feet. This hole plays slightly downhill. You do need a little bit of a skip at the very end of your shot. Not too much though. The basket's just kind of tucked in a little bit to the left. If you could land a disc right by that pipe with a little bit of power behind it and slide through there, you're going to be parked right by the basket. Even 232 feet, it's not a gimme birdie, but it's something that you do want to give yourself a look. That will not
early on the hyzer.
That was 300 soft PA1. Just looking to go straight as Chris is showing us. Just kind of going to the opposite side of the fairway where I was. Smooth shot right there by Mark, but just catching that last tree, and he's going to have a long look.
Josh pulling out the backhand on this hole.
Write it down.
And just
Backhand from Josh Hollingsworth.
That's how it's done, boys. I'm just going to park it with my backhand.
Let me show you how it's done.
Don't even worry about it.
Get an angle.
And a really
Same
nice
thing
looking
with
shot
Stewart.
there from Stewart as well.
Yeah, kept that low with a fairly overstable disc. Just like I mentioned, you're going to get a little bit of a skip moving forward. And just give yourself a look.
You know what? I hope Chris makes this one too. I mean, why not?
Get in.
Oh, just a little bit over the top there.
Not too much of a
Go.
look.
Couple branches on the way out.
Not on fire like Chris yet. As Mark cashes one in, he's also getting started as he knocked that in from about 40 feet. It's a good pickup right there.
Yeah, really nice. Makes up for the last hole for sure. Keeping it close there at the top between the two of you.
And we're actually going to head into 3 brand new holes as we're watching Chris clean up this par right here. The next 3 holes have really only been played for the last 2 weeks, so they're a little bit of a rough cut. I don't know if they're going to be permanent additions. Good catch right there by the basket. Nice putt by Chris. But they're a little bit of a different style play, much tighter than the rest of the course, I would say. And it rained a decent amount, so there's a good amount of mud. That kind of gives you a breakdown of the next 3 holes.
Josh and Stewart cleaning up their park jobs. You are up by 1 over Mark and 4 over Josh. Head into hole number 11. 265-foot par 3. Averages just over par. Like I said, these are rough cuts, a little bit tough to play. There's that big old swamp there in the middle that you'll have to walk around. What's kind of the play to try and get through this tight fairway?
The play, I think, is you're going to want to line up a little bit on the left-hand side of the tee, as I do think a thumber is a good shot for this hole, as it looks like Mark just had a little early release. I think if you're lined up on that left-hand side of the tee, it gives you a little bit more angle away from the right tree off the tee pad, which we saw Mark hit. And you want to give it a good amount of angle and let it have a nice flex once it hits the dead center gap, as we're watching Stewart almost do that as he about gets to pin high. I'm also going with the A3 once again on this shot.
That looks like it is flexing beautifully. Did you catch the bucket there? Look at that.
Got a little basket touch.
Oh, little ace run.
Chris showing us this is a tough backhand right here, just because you got the early tree on the left and then the late tree on the right, which on a hyzer flip, typically you want it to go a little earlier to the left and bring it in late to the right. So those trees are kind of set up to hinder the backhand hyzer flip.
Chris just, looking to get it anywhere within 60 feet here. He'll
give himself a look.
Yeah.
And Josh laying up so he can throw an overhand.
I believe that is Stewart behind the little bush there. He's got a little bit of a window at the basket. He does.
Gets up there. We're watching Chris line up. Can't even see the basket.
Which means he'll have... Oh my gosh, cash money!
Are you kidding me right now?
It's raining!
He's on fire! Somebody lit Chris on fire. I don't know what happened. But he's ready he's ready.
And that's a tough look for Mark. Not really having a look and has to lay up. A really nice putt there from Josh as well.
And again, I went with the long sleeve. I went from starting with a shirt and a long sleeve underneath it. Oh. To just a collared shirt to now a long sleeve. I've changed many attires.
Once you get into these shaded holes, it gets a little bit cooler. This was just before it started to warm up. Mark with the unfortunate 4 will lose 2 strokes there.
All right, guys, that is the part 1 of the final round, 2020 Frostbite Open. You got myself, Mark Poole, Joshua Hollingsworth, Stewart Garner, and Chris Downey. I am Will Schusterick with Idris Garcia, bringing you some quarantine commentary. Idris, what do you got?
I got see you guys on part 2.
All right, thanks for listening, and like you said, see you on part 2.